When it comes to football trading on Betfair, every man and his dog is offering bits of advice to those who are new. And while some of it can be good and is probably given with good intentions, there are some bits of advice which are actually dangerous. And if you follow them, they're probably holding you back with your trading. And in this video, I'll be telling you exactly what they can be and what to do about it. So there is a good chance you might already be making these mistakes yourself. Go grab yourself a nice cold beer or a glass of Johnny Walker Blue Label and let's get into it. So welcome to another episode from Sports Trading Live TV. We come for the sports trading, but we stay for the alcoholic beverages. And in this video, I'll be covering some of the dangerously bad advice you've probably been given regarding sports trading at some point in your life. Some of you might still be following this advice to this very day, and this is what might actually be holding you back, okay? And if you haven't been given this advice yet, then when someone actually gives it to you, you'll now know to ignore it, okay? Because trust me, eventually someone is going to make some of these suggestions to you in this video today. So we're going to dive right into it. But before we do that, do remember to please click the like button and help to support the channel. This also helps you to find new sports trading related videos in your YouTube suggestions, since YouTube do like to hide trading videos from the general public. So you kind of have to tell YouTube that this is the content you want. Okay, so if you want more trading videos like this, click the like button, let YouTube know. Okay, let's dive right into it. And this could be quite a funny video because I'm sure there's going to be people in the comments who actually believe some of this bad advice is actually good advice. But here is bad advice tip number one, and I hear this floating around on social media all the time. Okay, and it's something along these lines: you can't go broke taking a profit, which kind of makes sense, okay, when you just throw it out there, but it's not really good advice. Okay, it's similar to you can't lose just taking the green, or the worst advice of all is as soon as you see that green, take it. Okay, that is obviously really bad advice. Main reason for that is that obviously it sounds good in theory, but you can actually go broke taking a profit, okay, because you're not taking the risk reward ratio into account, and that's why it can be some pretty dangerous advice to follow. Okay, so if you keep this in mind, it's all well and good locking in a profit, but is the profit you're locking in enough to sustain yourself against the inevitable losses or the inevitable losing runs? For example, if you are using a strategy which has a worst case scenario loss of £100 if the trade goes wrong, yet you're taking a profit of £1 as soon as you see it, because apparently you can't go broke taking a profit, well, then you're just stacking the risk reward ratio fully against you, and you're making your life very hard. And in this hypothetical case, you would be risking £100 to win £1. And in the short term, yep, you're going to be locking in those profits. You're going to be getting in lots of wins in a row, and you're going to be patting yourself on the back and probably giving this advice to other people and just say, look, you can't go broke taking a profit. Just take that profit as soon as it's there. However, in reality, you're just setting yourself up for a very hard fall when the inevitable loser comes along and wipes out all the profits you previously made. So therefore, you can actually go broke taking a profit, because if your profits are not sustainable, then yeah, eventually you're just going to go broke when that loss comes in. And I guess the problem for many novices is not knowing just how much profit they should be taking from trades in order for it to be sustainable. So that's why a lot of novices might just see those green numbers, see that green cash out amount, and just press the button and take it without actually considering whether this is the actual profit they should be looking for. And I'm going to explain more about that right now. And let me actually just show you something a user of the football trading simulator sent me recently when he was simulating the Fireball Reloaded method. And if you see here, this trader tried this method out, risked £45 per trade. This is all done on a simulator, okay? So 100 trades, he's won 65, lost 35. He's eventually made a profit there of £323, okay? But the most importantly is that this trader now knows is that when he loses a trade and it goes wrong, his average loss is going to be £21.09. And from this trial, he now knows that his average win is £16.34. And so that's what he needs to aim for, whenever he is using this particular strategy. So it isn't just a case of, yep, let's just take the green as soon as it's there. Yeah, because you can't go broke taking a profit. Well, if this trader suddenly was taking £8 on every win, and his average win was only £8, well, he's probably going to be losing money. Okay, but he knows now from trialing out this method, from using it on the simulator, that if he can make at least £16.34 on average with this strategy, he can be profitable. So then he knows to hang in the trade longer, maybe be a bit more aggressive to try and make that green amount. Okay, so knowing your numbers, it can prevent you from following that blind advice of you can't go broke taking a profit, just take the profit as soon as it's there. No. In this case, especially with this particular strategy, this trader knows, well, I will go broke taking a profit if my profit is lower than £16, especially if I'm only taking profits in the single digits, like £5 or £6 or something. Then he will go broke. But in this case, he knows to go for the £16, and that is what he will have to aim for with every single trade. So yeah, it sounds good in theory. Yeah, you can't go broke taking a profit, but technically you can. Okay, you need to make sure your profits are sustainable and they can sustain the strategy in the long term. Okay, and for those who missed it, the football trading simulator is a pretty impressive piece of kit. You can test out any strategy and you can just test it to the absolute limits. You don't need the real matches to test it on. It was available recently. It's going to be available again very, very soon. If you did miss out on it last time, there will be another chance. Okay, submit your email address below, click the link in the description, and then get your email on the list so you'll be the first to know, because there will be another very, very quick opening again very, very soon. So as said, click the link in the video description, submit your email to get on the waiting list, because you will truly have hours of fun with this, and then you will know your numbers as well. You'll know exactly how much profit you should be aiming for whenever you get into the market with a strategy. So it's not just a case of taking that £1 of green. No, you know what your profit target is, and you'll stay in the market until you hit that target. So moving on to bad advice tip number 2, and this is one I see on social media quite a lot, and it does seem like social media is probably the root of all evil when it comes to bad advice. And it's something along the lines of this one. It's, if it wins, it means it was good value. Okay, this could apply to a bet or a trade, and basically the advice is, look, if I put the bet on and it won, then it means it was good value. And if I put the bet on and it lost, well, it was bad value. Okay, it's not quite as simple as that. And I see this advice thrown around quite a lot, not always in the same form. But for example, someone might do a terrible trade, really, really terrible trade, but that trade actually wins. And so thus they claim that, well, it won. So it was a good decision, right? Because it won. And honestly, you see people suggest stupid bets or trades on Twitter, and then they do win. And then everyone pats themselves on the back over a so-called great call. On the flip side, you actually see someone spot and share something that is great value. It is a great opportunity, but it doesn't actually win. And then you get all the trolls come out and kind of tell them it was bad value, it was a stupid call and all that sort of thing. So yeah, there is some really dangerous thinking going on with this one. And it's similar to the previous point. It is short-term thinking at its very worst. The entire concept of a bet that loses still being a good value bet to take is obviously something that the average human just has a hard time getting their head around. Okay, they will put on a bet, they'll see it loses, and they'll be like, well, that was a bad decision. It doesn't quite work like that. You can actually make great decisions, put on great value trades or great value bets, and then they lose. Okay, does not mean it was a bad choice to make. Okay, and if you are someone that doesn't understand that, I suggest you just stop trading until you fully do. But let me try and give you an example of this. Okay, so if we just move on from this and we just look at like a coin flip. Okay, so if we're going to toss a coin, heads at 2, tails at 2. Okay, even. So it's a 50-50 flip, and those are probably some fair odds. Okay, so looking at that, there isn't really any value to be had. It doesn't really matter who you back. However, what if the odds looked like this, okay? You could back heads to win at 1.25, or you could back tails to win at 4. So you're effectively getting odds of 4 on something that is a 50-50 chance, okay? So which bet out of those is the best value bet to take? Surely, if you're not crazy, you said, well, we'd be wanting to bet on tails, right? Surely, because you're getting very good odds on something which is only a 50% chance to win. So let's do that. Let's put our money on tails to win, okay? Let's toss the coin. Let's see who actually wins. Oh, okay. Heads won. Heads won, 1.25. Now, does that mean that betting on heads to win at 1.25 was good value and betting on tails to win at 4 was bad value? I'm sure you would agree that it doesn't quite work like that. However, this is exactly what you're seeing on social media. You would see people probably bet on something which is a coin flip, probably take odds of like 1.25. And I have literally seen similar situations. And yeah, it wins. Okay, great. But it's a bad decision. And if you keep doing that in the long term, you are not going to make money. Okay. So I'm sure we all agree that in this situation, betting on heads to win 1.25 is a bad value bet in the long term. And just generally, my advice to anyone is to obviously keep that in mind. Look, if a bet or your trade wins, it does not necessarily mean it was a good trade. And if it loses, does not necessarily mean it was a bad trade. So my advice to everyone is to always analyze your trades, even the trades that win. Okay. So even if a trade wins, look at it in the cold light of day the next day and ask yourself if it was a truly good value opportunity and if you would be profitable in the long term if you kept doing that same trade. Okay, so let's just say on Saturday night I wanted to bet on heads or tails and I put £1,000 on heads to win at 1.25. I returned 12.50. Then yeah, maybe on Sunday I feel great. You know, I've made £250 profit. However, in the cold light of day, would I succeed in the long term if I keep doing that over and over again? No, we know that, and it's not even a debate. We know that the sensible move would be keep backing tails, okay, whenever it's available at 4. However, yeah, you know, the average newbie just can't really get their head around. So yeah, scrap that advice, okay? If it wins, does not necessarily mean it was good value. If it loses, does not necessarily mean it was a bad decision. So I hope you guys are enjoying this and taking it all in. And don't forget, if you do want to cut to the chase and kind of learn about some actual football trading strategies, then don't forget to check out the free strategy class. It's not available on YouTube, but there is a link to that in the description of this video. And in there, you get a sneak peek at all the football trading strategies that are working for me alongside real life demonstrations, okay, including of those trades you can see on the screen right now. Okay, so in this video today, we're not really doing any trades or any trading demonstrations or showing off any strategies, but if that is what you're looking for, then there is a link in the description and you can go and check that out. But let's move on to bad tip number 3. And this bad advice tip usually comes in this sort of form, and it is: don't pay to learn. Everything you need is free on YouTube or Google. So if you want to learn how to do football trading, everything you need is free and it's there on YouTube or Google for you to learn. So you don't need to buy any courses, you don't need to buy any ebooks, you don't need to work with a coach or a mentor in order to learn this. And this is usually a piece of advice I see thrown around by people who did learn how to trade by themselves. It might have taken them many years and they figured it out, but they got there in the end. But it is terrible advice for a few reasons, okay? And I'll explain that right now, okay? Reason number 1 being that, do you know what, this is very true. Everything you need is probably on Google or YouTube, but then so is everything else. So is everything you don't need as well at the same time. So how do you possibly wade through all the bad information in order to find the good information? And even when you find the good advice, how do you know if it's even good advice? As we've seen in this video, there's a lot of bad advice floating around on the internet. And until you actually have a lot of experience in this game, it can be hard to know which advice is actually good and which advice is actually bad. And theoretically, I mean, I could learn anything on YouTube or Google. I could learn how to be a heart surgeon via the information on Google. I could watch a few tutorials on YouTube, I'm sure. But if I really wanted to be a heart surgeon, wouldn't it make better sense to do a formal course on it and learn from an actual surgeon before I gave it a go myself? And for you, if you needed heart surgery, wouldn't you feel a little bit more confident if I had actually done a course rather than if I told you that I just learned it all off YouTube? But anyway, here's the thing. I mean, once you do learn football trading, then a 5-figure per month income is within your reach. So if you do pay to do a course or to work with a coach or a mentor, then you could actually reach your goals a lot quicker, okay? And at the end of the day, the idea is that however much you pay, you're going to make back the costs and then much more for however long you want to after that. So you're effectively learning for free because you're going to pay yourself back later on out of the profits you make. After all, isn't that what investing is all about? But more importantly, when it comes to this, and you get a lot of people who say, oh, everything you need is free on YouTube or Google, you can just learn it for free, you don't need to pay for anything. But here's the thing, is that you will end up paying for your football trading education in some way or another. So you're either going to pay for it via time, or you're going to pay for it eventually via money anyway, due to the amount of mistakes that you're probably going to end up making in the market and the odd blown bank here and there, okay? Now, if you think about it, if you learn from a coach or a course or something like that, someone who's been there and done it, they can put you in the right path, on the right direction, and that can save you a huge amount of time. But if you try and do it all by yourself, well, you've got to wade through all the information on YouTube or Google. You've got to do a lot of trial and error, and it will probably take you years to get you to where you want to be. But if you do take the approach of paying for some information, paying for a good quality course, then you can cut that learning process down to just months, okay? So what do you prefer? You prefer to spend years trying to learn it, or just cutting it down to months? But also, if you don't pay with your time, like I said, you're going to probably end up paying with money anyway, due to the amount of silly mistakes that you will make. And I get emails pretty often from absolute newbies to the channel. They've just stumbled upon the channel. Then they tell me their stories about how they've lost hundreds or grands in the market, trying all sorts of wild strategies, laying nil-nil blindly is a common one, for example. But if they had just came to me with that wild strategy, I could have told them or put them on the right path straight away. But of course, you know, some people do have to learn the hard way. But like I said, you're ending up paying for it in one way or the other, okay? If you don't just pay for a course and skip the learning curve, then you're probably going to end up paying for it with your time or with your money anyway, through the mistakes. And that is one reason why we did invent the football trading simulator, so you guys can test your strategies out without using money and without wasting time either. You can simulate a whole football match in a minute if needed. But again, I mean, you have to pay for the simulator, and apparently there is some advice floating around there saying, nope, you shouldn't pay for anything. You can all learn it for absolutely free. But either way, you are going to have to pay for your education. There is no truly free way to learn anything. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a link in the description to an interview I did with Steve, the Essex sports trader. It was a great interview. He makes around 5 figures a month income from his football trading. But most notably, he got there very, very quickly, within about 6 months. And if you read the interview carefully, you will see that the secret to his success was that he did almost every course that was possible to do. Okay, and that is the clear reason why he got there much quicker than the average person. He invested in himself, he invested in his education, and he got the rewards. Okay, so you could go about it the free way, wait for all the information on YouTube or Google or whatever, or the random people on Telegram. But life is short, and if you can find a shortcut, then take it. Anyway, if this video has helped you out, if you've learned anything new at all, please do click the like button. It's very much appreciated. And if there's anything that you've learned in this video that has surprised you, anything you agree with, anything you've experienced yourself, let me know in the comments. Always very, very interesting to know whether this bad advice that I've heard floating around is bad advice that maybe you guys have been hearing. Maybe you're still following some of that bad advice, and I've just saved you a lot of pain in the future. But anyway, let me know in the comments. It's always great to hear what you guys think. And if you want to keep watching, there are some more videos on the screen right now that are definitely worth checking out. Okay, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the notification bell so you get all the new videos as soon as they come out. But if you want to keep watching, click on one of those 2 videos and I will see you in the next video.